Hello everybody, today we're going to talk about finding square roots. So a square root of a number is a number that when multiplied by itself equals the given number. Every positive number has a positive and negative square root. A perfect square is a number with integers as its square roots. And this is the symbol square root. Okay, it's called a radical sign and it's used to represent a square root. The number under the radical sign is called the radicand. So let's go back and look at what kind of this means. So the square root of a number is a number that when multiplied by itself equals the given number. So what that means is if I want like the square root of 16, okay, that is plus or minus 4. Okay, and so if I take 4 and I multiply it by itself, I get that number. And if I take negative 4 and I multiply it by itself, I also get that number. Okay, so this is the radicand under here. This is the radical sign. Okay, and a perfect square is like 16, where you can square root it and you get a nice number like 4. You know, the square root of 3 is like 1.732 something. It's not a nice number. Okay, so that's not a perfect square. So find the two square roots of 49. Okay, so that's pretty simple. The square root of 49 is plus or minus 7. Because 7 times 7 is 49, and because negative 7 times negative 7 is also 49. Okay, so here's my answer right there. Okay, so positive square roots. All right, so if I just generally see this by itself, square root of 16, that usually means that we just want 4. If I put a negative sign outside the square root of 16, then I want negative 4. And if I have a plus or minus out here, that means I want both of them. I want plus or minus 4. Okay, so find the square root of 25. That would be 5. Okay. Minus the square root of 9/16. Okay, so when you have a fraction like this, when you square root it, you square root the top and the bottom. So this is going to be negative square root of 9 over square root of 16. So this is just going to be negative 3/4. Okay. Plus or minus the square root of 2.25. Okay, so let's see, the square root of 2.25 is going to be 1.5, and it's going to be plus or minus 1.5. Okay, how do I know that? Well, the square root of 225 is 15, and so the square root of 2.25 is going to be 1.5. All right. So, what else we got here? That's it. So let's move on. All right, now you do the following. So, I got 6 problems for you here. This will take you a couple of minutes. So go ahead and pause the video. Find the square root of these numbers, and then jump back on here and check and see how you did. Okay, so the square root of 36, that's just going to be 6. The square root of 100, that's going to be 10, because 10 times 10 is 100. The square root of 121 is going to be 11, because 11 times 11 is 121. Excuse me. The negative square root of 1 is just going to be negative 1, because the square root of 1 is just 1, and then we put the negative sign on the front. The square root of 4/25, that's plus or minus, is going to be plus or minus 2/5, because the square root of 4 is 2 and the square root of 25 is 5. And the square root of 12.25, that's one I should know off the top of my head, and I don't, so we're going to go ahead and calculate that here. So the square root of 12.25, 3.5. Okay. Alrighty. So if you got those, you should be good to go. Now, you have a square root key on your calculator. It generally looks just like this. Okay. So on something like this, that would be fine to use that. You should be able to do these in your head. Okay. So there you go. Moving right along. All right, evaluate the expressions involving square roots. Okay, so we got a couple steps here to do. We've got 5 times the square root of 36 plus 7. So we're going to do the square root first. So this is going to be 5 times 6 plus 7. And then with our order of operations, we've got 5 times 6 is 30, plus 7 is 37. Okay, 1/4 plus the square root of 18 halves. Okay, so this one's a little tricky here. Here's what I would do first. 18 halves reduces, that's just 9. Okay, 18 divided by 2 is 9. We're going to do everything inside the square root first. Okay, now I can square root that really easily. This is 1/4 plus 3, which is just 3 1/4. Okay, here we have the square root of 81 squared minus 5. So when you see a square root and a square like this, these two things just cancel each other out. This is just 81. 81 minus 5, which is 76. So when you see a square root squared, or something squared square rooted, that just, they cancel each other out and you just make them go away. All right, the area of a crop circle is 45,216 square feet. What is the radius of the crop circle? Use 3.14 for pi. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Here's our area formula for a circle, is pi r squared. We're going to go ahead and plug in 3.14 for pi. And we have to figure out r. R is squared, but we know the area is 45,216. So the first thing we're going to do is get out our handy dandy TI-84 plus C Silver Edition graphing calculator. And we're going to divide both sides of this by 3.14. So we're going to get r squared. This is going to cancel out right here. We're going to have r squared. And then let's see, 45,216 divided by 3.14. That's 14,400. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and square root that. It's going to be our next step. And r is going to be 120, and that's going to be in feet. And I know it's going to be in feet, and I need the units because it told me that the area was in square feet. Some beautiful crop circles right there. Okay, now you go ahead and do these. So here's 3 of them for you. Take a minute, pause the video, do these 3 problems, and then jump back on here and see how you did. Okay, so let's start with this one right here. You're going to square root the 25, and that's going to be 5. Next, you're going to do multiplication. So 3 times 5 is 15, so this is 12 minus 15, and that's going to be negative 3. Okay, next up, you're going to go ahead and do the 28 divided by 7 first. So this is going to be the square root of 4 plus 2.4. And then the square root of 4 is 2 plus 2.4 is 4.4. Okay, finally down here, this is going to be 15 minus, okay, I've got a square root of 4 squared. Those are going to cancel, and I'm just going to get 4. And 15 minus 4 is 11. So there you go, negative 3, 4.4, and 11. Hopefully you got all three of those right. Okay, you're going to get to do today problems 1 through 41 odd. I look forward to seeing you in class. Have a great evening.